Can David Goggins really help you when it comes to mental toughness? If you'd like to know my opinion about it, stay tuned and watch this short video. Many MMA champions use ground and pound as their go-to strategy. If you want to learn how to do it properly, check out my Total Ground and Pound Blueprint Instructional. The link is in the description. Hi, my name is Mark Leichner from MMAcoach.net, where we teach coaches, fighters and enthusiasts how to train smart and not just hard. And in today's video I'll be talking about David Goggins and his book titled Can't Hurt Me. Now, if you don't know who David Goggins is, he has been all over the famous podcast, Joe Rogan's podcast, this podcast, that podcast. He's really famous right now for being so mentally and physically tough. And I read his book called Can't Hurt Me. And I'm going to do kind of like a mini review of his book, and I'm going to tie it to mental toughness as it pertains for MMA fighting. So he's not an MMA fighter, and here's a quick background on him. At first he was abused in his childhood, then he gained a lot of weight, he was like 300 pounds or so. Then he cut 100 pounds so he can get into Navy SEALs. He went through 3 hell weeks. He did ultra marathons, which means 100 miles in 24 hours or less. He did triathlons. He set a pull-up world record. He did like 4,030 pull-ups. So the guy is really amazing. And he did a lot of crazy feats. He destroyed his body, and along the way he learned some lessons. And he's trying to teach us those lessons in mental toughness too. So can you really learn mental toughness from this guy? The short answer is a definite yes, of course. He's very good. The only thing I don't like about him is that he's an American soldier. He went to Iraq and Afghanistan, and I don't really like American interventionism. I think they're wreaking havoc in the world, but I digress. This video is not about me criticizing the US government and their army. I'm cool with the people, with the regular people, of course, but this video is about mental toughness, and do yourself a favor and buy that book. You will find the link in the description below. So here are the key takeaways without me revealing too much from the book. In the book he has a lot of exercises that have helped him achieve those crazy things. Can you really imagine someone running a 100-mile run in under 24 hours? That's crazy.
I mean, how many ultra marathons did you run in a row? You ran some insane number.
I think it was, I ran 800s in 8 weekends in a row.
Just stop and think about that, ladies and gentlemen. 800s means 8 100-mile races. 8 weekends in a row. A 100-mile race will put you out for fucking 6 months.
Right.
You know, and you ran 8 of them, 8 weekends. It's a fucking insane accomplishment.
Can you imagine doing over 4,000 pull-ups under 24 hours? Those feats are amazing, and of course those special ops training, that's really one of the hardest trainings to do. I'm personally not sure, with all the stuff that I've done in martial arts, with all the crazy trainings that I had, the injuries and everything, I'm not so sure that I could go through special ops training like that, Navy SEALs training, because they don't allow for enough time for you to sleep. They give you crazy exercises, you're tired and underslept all the time, so it's pretty tough. And if you can go through that, you're one tough. So book in general, I think, is very good. And the general message of the book is great. And the message is that you should not be afraid to do the hard work, to do what's uncomfortable. And he says that nowadays in the modern society, everybody's looking for a quick fix, the easy 10-step rule or 2-3-step rule, everything easy. You know, in a day and age where you get instant gratification, a lot of people don't want to work hard for what they want. And this is the main message of the book. If you work hard, if you're not afraid to go the extra mile, you will get rewarded for it. Apart from this book being very mindset oriented, it is also a book about vulnerability, where he shows vulnerability at every step, how he was insecure in himself. He talks about this, how he didn't believe he will amount to anything, and so on, so on. He reveals a lot of personal details, which must have been very hard. So it's not all about go, 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 we're tough and stuff like this. No, a lot of the book is about vulnerability. The only problem I have with the book, if you can even call it a problem, is that he doesn't mention that you should be very careful and strategic about doing those tough things a lot. He does mention it, I have to say he does mention it maybe 1 or 2 times, but if you listen to the book, I listened to it, I listened to the audio version of the book. If you listen to it or if you read it, the most of the book is about him doing triathlons, marathons, ultra marathons, going through Hell Week, going to Ranger School, doing tough training there, and there's very little mention of being strategic about it. Yes, to be fair, he did mention it. He did say, don't just go out and run 100 miles. But at the same time, he did run 100 miles with no training once. It didn't go so well. He pissed himself, he shit himself, he coughed some mucus or something. And he shows you how tough he is, and that's good. But in my opinion, and this is one of the mottos of this channel, is train smart then hard. So training smart comes first. He could have saved himself a lot of pain if he did prepare for those races a little bit better, if he was a little bit more strategic. He was strategic later, but not in the beginning. So, and he paid the price for that, price in his health. So what I want to tell you is that being tough is a prerequisite for fighting in MMA and training in MMA. Sure, but it's not enough. It's not enough. You can actually be too tough for your own good. And I will give you a few examples. Some of you might remember old fights from Pride when Fyodor Emelianenko fought Minotauro from Brazil. I don't know if you remember this fight. Minotauro was too tough for his own good. Fedor was knocking him down, taking him down, punching him in the head with ground and pound. The guy didn't submit, but he took a lot of damage, which must have endangered his health. I have a few personal examples as well. I'll give you a small example. I busted up my ankle in training, and it's swollen up really big. And the next day I go to the gym, and this conditioning coach that worked there tells me, you know what is good for ankles when they swell up? I said, what? He said, go to a parking lot, put your car in neutral and push it. And I'm like, wait a second, I can't even stand on my leg, let alone push the car. But the competition was getting near, and I was ready to try anything, and I was young and dumb at that time. So I did. I drove my car to some field where nobody can see me push it because I was embarrassed. I got out of the car barely. I could barely walk, like limp, heavy limp. And I started pushing the car. And of course, my ankle got worse and I couldn't compete. But it just goes to show that you can be tough and it can be detrimental to you. Another example was when I was preparing for the nationals in Judo, because I have a Judo background. And like 5 days before that, I was trying to get out of the half guard of one of my teammates who was 2 weight classes above me and has really strong legs. And he squeezed my legs really tight, my leg really tight, and I was trying to get out of it by using force, not brains too much. And my knee kind of buckled. So it was not like I couldn't stand on it properly. My ligaments were stretched out, my lateral ligaments were stretched out, and all I needed was time to heal. And I had 4 days to heal until the nationals came. So I used that time to go to physical therapy. My leg was getting better, but it was still not 100%. And I wanted to compete. I talked to my father, I talked to my coach, and they all tried to convince me not to compete because I can bust up my knee even worse. It might require surgery. They told me it will sure require surgery if you compete. And I didn't want to hear about it. I was like 20 or 21. All my focus was on competing. If I didn't compete, I wouldn't feel like a man and stupid stuff like this. So I went out and competed. I won my first fight, I won my second fight convincingly also, and in the semifinals I went against a guy that I've never even like scored against in competition, and I busted up my knee. Everybody heard a loud crack. There was a tear in my meniscus, and I also my cruciate ligament broke, so I required surgery. I had 2 surgeries after that, and I'm going to have a 3rd surgery this year as well, and that was it. I lost 1 year of training, and I had to get surgeries. So that was also an example of me being too tough for my own good. And one of my messages in this channel, maybe the main message, is to be smart about your training, because it can save you a lot of time and a lot of pain. So, how do you do that? That's a tough one. First of all, when people are young, even the best advice will not always work. It didn't work on me. And I see some of my guys, even though I advise them and I try to give them, you know, to pass on as much of my experience to them as possible, I still see that they need to make mistakes by themselves so they can really understand what's going to happen or what's going on. I can speak all I want. I'm not saying that it's all for nothing. Of course, they listen to me and everything, but sometimes they need to live that. They need to feel it on their own skin. So make it your business to first see if you're training smart. On top of that training, add toughness. And there are a lot of things where you can be tough in your training. You can be tough by showing up for every training, which some people don't because it's tough and they come up with excuses not to train. Another thing you can do is if you have a training program and if this afternoon you have to run, go run, even if it's raining, even if it's snowing. Don't look for excuses to back out of the run or whatever. If you have that guy that's always tough for you in sparring, that always dominates you, ask him to spar first. Yes, ask him to spar first. Ask him to spar every training. Maybe ask him to spar 2 times. That way you develop mental toughness. But don't do those things that will get you hurt. That's not good. As I said, your goal is to be prepared for competition, for the day of the competition. Everything else you should subject to that. David Goggins, great book, a fascinating character. You can learn a lot from him. Check out his book down below in the description. I have a link to Amazon, and read it or listen to it like I did. It's fascinating. Do the exercises. Exercises are great. My favorite exercises are the accountability mirror, the cookie jar, and how he analyzes his losses in order to improve. I don't want to reveal too much. You'll just have to read the book. Overwhelmingly, it's a great message and a great book. Read it. Learn from the guy. And I also have a book about mental toughness, which I'm about to rework. It's not available yet. It was available before. I'll also link it down below, but at the time of me shooting this video, it will not be available. Maybe if you watch this video in the future, it will be, but right now it's not. So check out the links below. If you want to master MMA fundamentals, check out my instructional called MMA Essential Lessons Part 2. In it you will learn about boxing, Muay Thai, grappling, clinch wrestling, ground and pound, boxing into takedowns, and takedown defense. Check out the link in the description below. Let me know, what do you think about David Goggins? Do you agree with me when I say that it's a very good book and he has very good lessons for mental toughness? Let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, like it and share it, and you can also subscribe to my channel. And if you'd like a more in-depth MMA training, check out my instructionals. My name is Mark Leichner from MMAcoach.net, and I will see you again very soon.